Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, everybody.
What's up?
This is the Flat Out Fever podcast
Welcome.
Again.
of the
Again. 68 times.
for the British Grand Prix.
This chair's about to collapse in the back here.
Oh,
I'm not going to have a backrest in about 5 minutes.
I'm sorry. We'll look into the studio funding and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
You get a welder in here.
Oh, jeez. What a good Grand Prix we had.
Interesting,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, very
I remember
good.
you were fairly displeased about the start.
Yeah.
Wow.
The first, how can you really complain, right?
Blah.
Yeah. As Kimi Räikkönen would say.
Yeah.
The starts that we've had this year,
Yeah.
something different.
Well,
Something to talk about.
I wanted to see the guys. Like, listen, I wanted to see the Alonso types, the Carlos Sainz try to do something. Maybe like
The
Vettel.
McLarens were hoping for rain. They didn't. Half their chance was erased.
Yeah, because exactly. Like, there's a lot that daring drivers could have done in this, if it was a proper start
Yeah.
in those full wet conditions. That would have been brilliant to see the guys. What they didn't want, what they wanted to avoid, of course, was a bunch of people crashing out. And I'm not gonna say that they wouldn't have, but these guys have proved that they can keep their shit together.
Right.
Like at Baku, like 0 crashes. Right, like you gotta give these guys a lot more credit. I think when
Yeah.
Charlie Whiting
Yeah.
should have allowed them to start like a proper Grand Prix, lights out, and go for it.
But there were a lot of puddles, as they were saying. As
Yeah,
the
but
Sky Boys
but
were
everybody
Standing water,
everybody
but-
was in full wets in the
Yeah.
full wet tires.
That's what is the point of having those tires if you
Yeah.
can't use them? Up until now, wasn't it only only one car had used them? No, Bottas used them once.
Oh no, I think it
like
was
half by accident, probably.
Hulkenberg or Magnussen. I know how got to use all 7 tires by.
Oh,
a
he was
couple
the
races
first
ago.
one. Yeah, so maybe 2 cars then, whatever it was. What's the point? And then as soon as they stopped, they all went to the intermediates, or a handful of cars pushed and just went straight dry from
Yeah.
there.
As soon
Jumped
as
into
they
dries. Yeah, yeah.
Well, like half the grid just like fucking went in.
Yeah, there were 9 cars right into the pits. That was madness. Actually, hang on a
That's
second.
another argument against a safety car start because it caused a lot of. There was a few almost accidents. It was like trying to do this with your fingers or something. It's really hard. It was.
Now, is this sort of like a newer sort of thing to happen with the safety car starts, or has it always sort of been?
No,
there?
They've done
I mean,
it before, but
It's sort of at the discretion of the race director whether or
Okay.
not that's gonna happen.
Right.
Charlie
And-
Whiting's gotten a little soft.
And
Right.
yeah, maybe it's just that. Like, come on, like the argument is that in years past and decades past, like that wouldn't have been the case. They would have let them go out. But actually, before we get into more analysis of the British Grand Prix, I want to just do a shout out to everybody that came out for yet again for F1 at Betty's, to Betty's, to watch the race with us. Another great turnout.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. That was these things are a lot of fun.
That was a
so
lot of
great.
fun.
And I keep seeing threads pop up on Reddit here and there about people wanting to wondering why they don't do this in their city.
How come it's not here?
yeah.
Start it, man.
Yeah,
Just do it up.
Honestly, yeah. If you're
Call your
listening
local
to
bar and
us
ask 'em.
from somewhere that has like I think the only requirement is that your city has to be big enough to support something like this. But I think that if you live anywhere that has at least 1 million people, you'll find enough F1 fans to like make this worth it.
Yeah.
I think most of Europe you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
In smaller cities.
Yeah, just talk to your local bar, see if they'll give you a TV to show the race, and post it on Reddit, and you'll get a bunch of people show up, and it'll be fun.
Or
Yeah, just a fun hang.
Or we can just franchise Flat Out Fever.
Yeah.
And just start it up in every major city.
Yeah, just one F1 at Betty's, but they still call it F1 at Betty's in Chicago, F1 at Betty's.
Betty's would be happy with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if 5 people show up or 30 people shows up. It's
Yeah.
just fun. It's just
Yeah.
more fun than watching by yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Get some drinks, have some food, and you always like. I think every time we've had it, like someone new shows up,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is always fantastic, because then you get to talk to them and be like, oh, you're into this guy, or like this racer, or whatever.
Sometimes the amount of like things that come at you during the race, like if you like take your eyes off the screen for a second, you might miss something. So it's awesome that if you miss something, somebody else like is bound to have seen it and like start. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So much fun.
Honestly, thanks to everybody that shows up to these things. Shout out to like the regulars as well as the new people that keep coming.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like we wouldn't have any motivation to do it if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you.
Yeah.
So anyways, halfway through the season now? I guess halfway through the next race will be halfway through the season in Hungary, but
now it's mid-season.
It seemed like it really jumped from a third of the season to a half really quickly.
Well, we have had this like back-to-back Grand Prix. Jeez.
It has been a bit insane, hasn't it?
Yeah,
right.
It's
And
been
so
quick, a lot of quick successive races.
And so when does the summer break, and how long is it?
It's just barely. It's gonna
really
be like
is a
3
break.
weeks or this time
wow.
around. Not
Okay.
a full month.
And isn't it only 2? Is there a 3-week break? Is there actually?
I think there is. They still managed to squeeze a 3-week break.
Oh man.
But I think that was part of the season. They compressed it a little bit to not have as many spaces between the races. John, it's heavier traveling for all the people involved for sure. Yeah, for sure. But
there's from August 28th to September 4th. So
between what is that, between Belgium and Italy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they chose the Italian Grand Prix for launching Heineken. You spent some time practicing putting on green posters.
Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. That's not the one. So it's from July 31st to August 28th. That's why
between Germany and Belgium.
Yeah. Sorry, I had that wrong. Jeez, of course, I had that wrong. In between the German and the Belgian Grand Prix, there's that little break there. But we're gonna get a bit of a break ourselves too. I mean, as much as I love it, I see what you were saying, that maybe like if there were 25 races. Too. Yeah, if there were maybe 25 races a year, that would be like the extreme, like the maximum tolerable number.
You could max out, yeah. You could only put 2 weeks between each one.
Yeah.
Like we got 2 weeks now to really build up.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, then you get extra excited when the race comes.
You gotta imagine like the teams too need a break.
Well, that's their biggest argument. Like the teams and just the whole circus that follows F1 around, the journalists. You gotta think of cooks.
Line tamers.
Yeah, the chopper, like the guy that does the aerial shots. All those people
soon to lose his job.
Do not. Yeah, I know. Do not. They do not like it when the calendar is really busy, because they hardly get to spend time at home with their families, etc., etc. So it is pressing on them, and like if Bernie has said that he wants like that that if he could get away with it, he'd have 30 races a year, but that then you start to get into a weird territory where if that was the case, if that was a reality, you probably have to start thinking of like having 2 crews or like 3 crews, like that, people basically start thinking of people not going to all the races, and that could be kind of wonky. That could be
because then that switches up strategies and like who you gonna bring. That makes sense.
But
I can see why Bernie would say that. I mean, that guy pretty much just lives off of like the fumes of Formula 1 cars, sucking on the tailpipe,
sucking on mufflers.
Well, now he's I don't know if you've seen, but on the side of his neck he's got these serrations here. I believe they're gills.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then he just sucks in and just breathes them out the side.
It's the secret of Bernie's longevity.
Yeah.
Is that he spends too much time around these car fumes. These very specific Formula 1 car fumes. I mean, there's something to that, man.
A lot of people don't know. Like, he's actually around 200 years old.
Yeah, right.
Something interesting about this 10 races here. Only 2 cars have finished them all so far.
Oh my God, who's this?
I hadn't realized. It's Ricciardo and Bottas. They both finished all the races so far. But Danny Rick finally out qualified by his teammate this weekend.
Yes.
For the first time.
Man, that was
his worst finish though, 11th, and Bottas 14th. So both of those guys killing it this year.
This guy,
and their reliability, all that, the team itself.
he was complaining like just he sounded like, and we kind of have said that the past couple podcasts that he's just kind of being whining, man. Like I
had a little rant about him last week.
Yeah, I didn't take him for a whiner. Actually, I thought like that he was like a
super
pretty
cool.
Yeah, pretty cool guy. But honestly, like, he's kind of gone down in my books. Yeah. First comparing himself to Vettel, and now you surely must think that the Verstappen out qualifying him and actually like putting a very solid performance it must be getting to him, because he I forget who it is that like it did the post race interview with him on Sky, like when he was in the pen, and like he just kept saying like, oh, I don't know, it was a boring race, like I had nobody to fight with, like I just wish I wish I had more opportunities.
I wish I was in second place, like like my teammate. Yeah. He's definitely been looking in his rearview mirrors more recently.
Could you blame him though?
Actually, he's probably been looking ahead of himself a little bit more recently.
But seriously, the guy, somebody on Reddit put together a compilation of numbers, and Verstappen has scored, like since he moved to Red Bull, he scored more points than anybody else except for Lewis.
Yeah, throw up the graphic. I'll highlight it for you here. Right here, highlighted. Giving credit out to Iraloon on Reddit, who put this together. But yeah, this graphic shows since Verstappen switched over, Hamilton's got 110 points. Verstappen is second with 77.
If the season started in Spain, right now we'll be talking about second place and challenger for the title, Max Verstappen.
Interestingly, behind him too, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Vettel, and Rosberg in 6th to 3rd place all have 63, 64, 65, and 68 points. So they're really tight at the top here.
It has been, hasn't it? Like these guys have been basically like at the same like comparative level each race since. That's weird, man.
I didn't see, I think, the full list of standings after this race, but the two Ferraris were equal going into it.
Yeah.
And now Hamilton and Rosberg are 1 point away from each other, 1 point apart. Just pretty interesting.
This is after. Okay, let's not forget. This is after that 10-second penalty that he got, and I guess we're gonna talk about that more in a minute. But
yeah,
that's definitely what.
So yeah, don't forget this is after Rosberg had how much of a lead? Like almost 50 points, 48 points,
1 point
47, 48 points at 1 point.
Down to 1 point.
Down to 1 point lead.
Yeah.
He's going to be on a 48, 47, 48 point deficit soon, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I see it going that way.
It's starting to get to him. And the next race, Hungary, is the one that historically Lewis Hamilton has done very well at.
Yeah, he loves that track.
Yeah.
He's been killing it recently, too. Like just this weekend, we got a hat trick of races there.
It was a Lewis festival-a-thon this weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty much the Lewis Hamilton show.
It was the Lewis show.
Yeah, it's a hat trick of wins. The first guy to do that. He's got 4 total.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact, for each time that he's won at the British Grand Prix, he took the title that year. So let's see if he can continue that trend. His crowd surfing at the end after he won the race. That's pretty cool.
Pull up that
That's
picture.
Some rock star shit right there. He's practicing for when his album drops. So he can drop some fire raps.
He's kept that quiet for a while. I don't think he's been hitting the studio as much recently.
No.
Come on.
Oh yeah, he's really dropped that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't. When was the last time we talked about it?
That's true, and he hasn't even posted like any pictures from the studio on Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah, remember like Thanksgiving, he was bragging about how he put his CD in at Kanye West's house or something, and
they liked it. My parents.
So, yeah, some people liked it. Look at him there. That's badass. I like that hat he's got this weekend, too. I take that blue Union Jack Mercedes hat.
You should have a fucking red one for Canada. Why doesn't Lewis Hamilton? We know that you love to come to the Canadian Grand Prix. You should make one of those cool hats with a Canadian flag.
Maybe he's ramping up his hat collection. So he had that maroon one for 2 or 3 weeks in a row.
I like that.
But he's had a couple. Yeah, it's cool, too. I guess he had black. Somebody there's got a black one in the crowd. He had the white gray one. Yeah, it's cool. Something unique.
Oh, the hero of Britain right now. This guy.
Yeah, honestly. For sure. Killing it.
Yeah.
Top of the motorsports, or top of all sports pay in the world. Like
him?
5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere around there. Yeah. top paid athletes in the world.
Isn't that what like how Rogan got into talking about F1 in one of his podcasts recently?
Yeah, I don't know if we even mentioned that last week, but we watched it before the show. Joe Rogan went off on like a 15-minute rant about how crazy he thought F1 was.
Yeah,
and he had he had like maybe half an idea about F1.
I wouldn't even give him that much.
But he still sounded excited. Like he could have I could convince fucking Joe Rogan to check out F1. I'm sure. Like if he already thinks of it that highly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure doing his stand-up comedy, he's friends with Bill Burr as well. The two of them could watch a race together. Bill Burr's been ranting almost every week recently.
It's them who save Formula One
for America.
From America.
Well,
the F1 in America
save
movement.
F1. He told this producer guy, pull up that Ayrton Senna video. Have you ever seen that perspective video where he's driving the car really fast? And then he pulled up a warm-up lap video of some guy, I forget who even it was, in a car with no liveries on it, doing a warm-up lap.
And he still thought that he was look at how fast
he's going. He's not going fast at all.
Oh, hey, listen, we got a thing on the chat. Black Inferno 99 asks us, out of these drivers, which one is the most likely to challenge Verstappen to a championship? Leclerc, Stroll, Sainz, Verline, or Van Dorn? That's a good question right there if I ever heard one. I want to say Stroll, but that's just
I want to say Stroll, but I think realistically Van Dorn's got a real chance of being a full-time driver next year if they don't hold on to Button over at McLaren.
And that's another thing that I guess I wanted to touch on, like McLaren finally, after so many months and so many over a year of telling us we'll be back, we'll be back to the top. They finally seem like they've improved something. Their car actually seems to be quite good, the chassis, and maybe they just have to work on just getting a bit more push out of that engine.
You know, it's funny. Yeah. We always talk about Alonso. I know you do because you're a huge Alonso fan. But you always commend him on his rain driving and his his sort of wet strategy. And did we see a lot out of him?
We saw a crazy clip though.
When he did the 360.
No. Separate from that, he's going down the main straight and did a pass with the DRS open on full throttle and touched the grass by accident and almost spun out. And then he kept it going straight. Yeah,
car control. That's Alonso would have. He's the kind of guy that you can see him going for passes like that, passes that could be risky, but he knows he can do it because he knows that if he hits the grass, he's probably can still keep it together and get the car back. You gotta think about these cars, they are designed specifically to be on rails basically, and under the perfect dry conditions. That's why it's kind of hard to really capture how fast these cars are going on the TV cameras, because they're usually just their movements are so smooth and they basically stuck to the road. Right. So when one of these cars actually loses it and the driver can manhandle it and wrestle it back to the line, that's it. It takes a great amount of skill to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody posted that clip as a GIF on Reddit. I watched that 5 or 6 times this morning. I'm almost losing control. Yeah.
Going back to the question though, Black Inferno. I'd agree with Danny here that Van Dorn.
There's a real chance that McLaren will drop Button and put him on full time, or lend him out.
Who, Button?
Yeah.
TV probably.
Oh yeah, is he done after?
He said he's basically said that. If he cannot, if they won't give him a car that will fight for podiums, he's not gonna come back to F1. There are rumors going around that he's been in talks with Williams. So Williams dropping Massa and getting Button in there with all it would make sense for a team like Williams, but it probably won't happen unless Button basically agrees to take a pay cut. If he's gonna do it out of a labor of love kind of thing, I want to stay in the sport.
He's British, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so is Williams.
Exactly. So it makes sense, and that's where he started his career in F1. Oh, so really? It would be quite one of those stories, going a homecoming.
I heard a rumor too that it's quite possible that McLaren keep Button, but also lend out Van Dorn to that Williams seat so he can get some experience and lend him out for a year so he can get up to the pace of racing F1, et cetera, et cetera. And then when Button vacates his seat, after 2017 that you could take over with some experience instead of just sitting there hoping that somebody crashes. Well, not hoping someone crashes. You know what I mean?
Hey, actually, Verline might have like a little bit of a chance too. Depends on where he ends up, because like you can tell that Mercedes like really like this kid. Like they're going like above and beyond.
His driving's almost as smooth as his voice when he talks.
So the young drivers test is coming up this week in Silverstone, and here's the thing: to be considered a young driver, you can't be already part of an F1 team, right? Like otherwise, or competing in the season full time in the F1 team,
right?
So if a team wants to use you for the young drivers test, if you're already an F1 driver, you can't use the same spec car. You can't use like the 2016 car. So they're actually putting him on the 2015 car, which it would be seen as it's kind of a like this rule would have existed to like kind of punish the teams that choose to like still test with their current roster of drivers, by way of like making them like really encouraging. If you want to test this year's car,
have to dust off that car, put this new stickers on it, change all the sponsorships, make sure the engine's still running, bust out all kinds of stuff that they wouldn't have to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. That and also like if you think you're getting away with like with testing this year's car, like you have to like give it to somebody that hasn't driven it, or you have to give it to one of the young drivers. Van Dorn, though, he still fits the definition of a young driver because he's not in the season full time. He was for a race,
he raced once,
but he still like matches he still fits the criteria, so he's gonna get to test the current McLaren. And somewhere I saw that Honda's actually thinking of bringing in an outdated or like a modification of their engine with that turbojet ignition. Or something like that's down the pipelines. That's basically one of the things that they're missing that all the other teams have, right? So if they're thinking of actually bringing it and like Deuces was doing some test running in it, like kind of getting Van Dorn to like push it, like that could be interesting, and we'll see like where McLaren it heads off after that. Now the fact that Van Dorn would go back to the sport in a McLaren, and obviously we don't know like how good McLaren is going to be next year or in 2018. But it's gonna be like depending on McLaren's performance, whether or not he has a shot at the title. Verstappen, I mean, just going back to like this thing, Leclerc, he's too far down. He's gonna be like a star of the future, but he's too young. He's down the pipeline. He's coming. He's coming, but I think Verstappen would beat
not
Leclerc.
on the same level as him. Yeah.
Sainz is not like he's a great driver, but it's gonna take like a lot of like him to like improve to become like a world star like champion. I think he probably does have it in him, but I don't think in terms of like natural skill and natural talent, he definitely is beaten by the other people in this list. Stroll is an interesting one because he could, by virtue of his deep-pocketed father, he could land a seat in a team that could have a genuine shot at the championship, and that could if he works on like his skill even more now, he could end up quite up there. It's interesting. That's an interesting question for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
It's it's so funny. I was looking at pictures of Carlos Sainz, and I just assumed he was like a little bit older, like maybe mid-20s, like late 20s even. No, he's 21.
Yeah,
he's a little baby.
Yeah,
oh my god,
they're all kids, dude.
He's a grown-ass man.
But going back to Britain, what a great race. I loved it. Even though I didn't like the way that it started.
Yeah, I wasn't. So it's
did you read that thing from James Allen?
I was just gonna say I wrote down this quote right here.
Yeah.
That F1 is supposed to be an extreme sport, and what's the point of having these blue tires if I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that start. And if anything, give him like 2 laps or 3 to like throw a couple of the puddles up in the air. That's basically what the whole point of that was. Like dry the track out a little bit.
Yeah.
The sun was starting to shine anyways, but start them when there's a bit of water. Like almost all the puddles were gone. The track was almost fully dry. Like 6-7 laps, 10% of the race they wasted on the start.
Yeah, was that how many laps with the
They did like 6 laps. Yeah.
So the race was 52, I think. So it was a full 10% of the race.
I think the biggest problem I found with it, obviously safety is really important,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
that excitement, like we were talking, I think it was you, Danny. It's like there's no like, let's get ready to rumble. It's so anticlimactic for such like a powerful race just to have them like start.
Like
It's such like a, you're getting ready to, have sex with someone, and then you just go fucking super soft, and you're like, well, I gotta work it up again.
Yeah.
Just like,
give me 6 laps.
I need like there's a lot of puddles out here, all right?
No, but serious. We were deprived. This is something that I said when we were watching at Betty's. I was like, damn, like we were deprived of what could have been a great start.
Right.
Like we don't know if we missed what could have objectively been nominated for best F1 start ever. Like, we don't know, right? Like,
yeah. It was like that for Monaco too, right?
Yeah, but they were okay. But in Monaco, I can see why.
Right.
That was the right decision because Monaco is a very, very complicated track, and like you the risks were there. But with the huge runoffs and the gravel, what a good job that the gravel did in the British Grand Prix.
It's weird. Like the cars seem to stop usually within about like a half a meter of the wall.
Yeah,
when they hit the gravel.
But they stopped. If they had been like just a tarmac runoff, like they would have just careened right into.
Who just got like stuck in it?
And Alonso got stuck in it and like wrestled his car back out. Like I don't think I may have seen the like in passing before, but I never noticed it. That yes, like usually like when the cars go in the gravel, they're beached there, but Alonso was like, no!
I think Herianto was the first one that went off.
Oh yeah, went off and just got stuck, and the wheels spun and the gravel.
4 or 5 cars went off at that first corner, the Abbey corner. A bunch.
Great, but after the start or after the safety car,
it was a great race.
Things really picked up. It was
Hamilton
amazing.
Pulled out. Something I just pulled up these just so I can close this tab on my browser. Some Channel 4 averaged 2.36 million viewers and peaked at 3.9, and Sky averaged 745,000 and peaked at 1.1 million. So people are not paying for Sky. Channel 4 is only getting this TV coverage for 3 years, 2019. But it says the average for both channels is down 27% on last year for TV viewing in Britain.
Of course.
Because this year the race overlapped with the Wimbledon final, so that's where I think most of the other viewers went.
There was a soccer thing going on too.
Oh yeah. Oh,
but not at the same time. But yeah. It's still like people's attention. If they had to like pick like a 4-hour thing to a 4-hour time block to waste your Sunday on, and you gave them the choice, soccer versus F1, and some people would have chosen soccer, obviously.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so safety car comes in. Lewis starts to bunch up the crowd. 9 people go right into the pits after that, and from then on, it was a weird, like kind of balancing act that some teams were playing in terms of like when to switch to the slicks, and we did see some people out there with like pulling some bold moves, like switching into slicks like before everybody else, and like that was really cool to see as the track conditions were changing and to see when people chose to move to the slicks, and with the track still a little bit wet, it was cool, and that produced like some of the great like moments that we saw in the race. That pass for Verstappen passing Rosberg.
Oh, beautiful!
Yeah, on the outside.
I was gonna ask. Maybe the word I'm trying to think of is, what is the opposite of patience?
Impatience.
That's the one. Wow.
Haste.
Sorry, but I'm finding that like Mercedes has that. Like they waited, right? They waited for Lewis. I'm not sure if because Rosberg and Lewis both went almost at the same time, right?
Back to back,
right away.
Yeah.
Stacked them.
And I'm finding that like Ferrari have been like really impatient. Like they just do these very drastic. No, bring him in. Bring him in.
That's been my whole thing
whole
with Ferrari for a long time, even back in the Montezemolo days. It was that they seemed to like make like be very impulsive and almost like fiery, as you would expect an Italian team to be.
Well, it's all those coffees and cigarettes they smoke all day. They're just all wired and like, whoa, okay, yeah, let's go.
And, somebody like yelling over the phone, like raising their hands to Maranello for sure. Like, and it's you kind of have to love him for that, because for all their the money that they have, all the resources, like the professionalism that goes into keeping a thing like Ferrari going, you can still see like those random outbursts of like just raw human miscalculation, right? Like that makes them great. They've had way too for my taste, way too many wrong calls. Yeah. But hey, it's put a little bit of flavor into the championship. Now, and a bit of a in Vettel's face. Yeah. Did you see that picture?
I did. That was very adorable. Now, is that sort of rested upon the shoulders of Arrivabene? Like, is it ultimately his call?
It will,
when it comes to all these decisions.
So somebody would be answerable. Like, no. So all the team people are answerable to Arrivabene,
right?
Who is answerable to Sergio Marchionne.
Right, okay.
But Arrivabene was kind of brought there as a manager of people, not really knowing like much of like the technical side of F1.
Right.
So in a team like Ferrari, it would be like, even though like, yes, he would be ultimately accountable for it, the call would have been done by somebody else, by a race engineer or a strategy engineer.
Okay.
Yeah. The race strategist. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think he was being very positive here. There's a quote from Bernie this morning. Ferrari has become very Italian again.
Very Italian.
Wow.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I guess he's been sucking on that tailpipe for a bit, huh?
Yeah, he said they're back to where their chaotic period in the 70s and 80s when they were known for their spaghetti culture, in quotes.
Wow.
That's what he said.
This guy just loves tossing fire around, doesn't he?
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
He's become very Italian, but that's kind of what I was talking about. Yeah. The impulsiveness, the maybe not thinking things to the full extent, which is it's great to see that even top teams like are still committing blunders. It's hard. Like, it must be hard for Vettel. It must be hard for like the people that work hard in Ferrari and like want to see the team go back to be competitive, because that's again, So that era that they're talking about, like the spaghetti culture of the 70s and 80s, it was like it was mind-boggling and to people like Niki Lauda, that when they got to Ferrari and saw what they had, saw the amount of money that they were playing with, saw the facilities, saw the fact that they owned like a racetrack, but they still had a shit car. How is this possible?
Yeah, and something that plays against the impatience of Mercedes, as you said, they actually won both against their impatience, is that they won both DHL awards this weekend.
Oh, really?
The fastest pit stop.
Yeah, they took the fastest pit stop. First time. Williams has won every single one so far.
Yeah, they've been on fire.
If you look, I can't find the graphic again now, but if you look at it, they give you the top 5 or so. They were within like a quarter second. So obviously the other teams have been studying Williams and picked up some of their techniques or whatever. They were all really close. Like, they won that fastest pit stop by like 0.12 seconds or something crazy like that. Yeah. And Rosberg, I think that was his 3rd straight fastest lap for the race. So that was good for him. But I guess he cheated again.
So, yeah. Well,
they just straight up told him.
Yeah, they know that this morning they withdrew their intent to appeal that decision.
Oh, really?
Which showed some of the bureaucracy of F1. They had to submit an intent to appeal, and then you have 90 hours or something weird like that to
kind of like a cool down period.
To decide if you're just angry or if you think you really have a case. But they know what the rules are, and they said it themselves afterwards. They admitted that if they didn't tell him that, the transmission probably would have broke and he wouldn't have finished the race.
Yeah.
So you decide, is 10 seconds worth cheating? And is it? And then how do they? They don't even think of it as cheating. They're just gonna tell him. even though they are cheating. It's against the spirit of the rules they all agreed to. And then they were yelling also about how it's not a sporting regulation, it's only a technical directive, and Charlie Whiting interpreted it his own way, that the driver has to be unaided. Who says so? whatever.
So
a whole bunch of crap like that.
The sticking point was the fact that they they told him skip through 7th gear.
Right.
That alone.
That's a specific.
Yeah. So
a specific thing to. They can't just
you're
say
telling him what to do, and as long as if you're telling the driver what to do, that's driver coaching. That counts. That's against the rules. That should be penalized.
It's all very subjective. Like if they said like, Nico, your transmission is in trouble or something like that, or it's breaking, is that allowed? If they don't tell him specifically how, or you're having transmission problems, Nico. If you specify then 7th gear and then to skip through the gear quickly, which it didn't seem like he was doing anyways. We were talking about that in the race.
Yeah,
it seemed like he was using it just as heavy as 6 and 8.
Right, but you guys. Maybe I just remember seeing that he was like stuck in 7th for a little bit.
It seemed like maybe at one point
because I was watching his steering wheel and it was just like, and he was going slow around a corner just in 7th. Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Anyways, they know that they cheated, and that's whatever.
Well, another thing that we basically like discuss is that maybe because they were even tempted to cheat more. Like you could have you could have made the argument that like back in Baku, like there would have been even more even people were saying like, oh, why didn't you just break the rules and took the penalty? And I think it's because it wasn't very clear what the penalty was going to be, since it was only like a technical directive or whatever.
You could get disqualified, really.
Yeah,
maybe.
But if now we're basically like now
some sort of precedent set.
Now it's there's precedent. It's more likely going to be that like for the rest of the unless they issue another technical directive.
I think yesterday too, they were in Britain, so a lot of people were hot under the collar about you helped Rosberg, but you didn't help Hamilton. That he's British. Well, you didn't help him because he's British. There's a little bit of that. He didn't get his tip or whatever. I don't know. So I don't know.
It was interesting for sure. The outcome of that, and apparently, Nigel Mansell was the steward at the time, so he had and there was apparently like a bunch of or the meeting actually went on like a lot longer than usual. It must have been like just
the last 2 races in a row. The press conference went 40 minutes.
Yeah, true.
The pre-press conference. Maybe it's just what they're doing now.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, like the steward's inquiry is what I'm saying that went a lot longer than usual for them to deliberate. But apparently, like there was a guy, but part of the panel that was a lawyer. So he was like also like apparently like this guy was like
he's like, bring me the books.
Yeah. Come on.
I need to read the articles.
Yeah.
The actual articles of rules.
Yeah, and no, they quoted a specific like whatever technical directive that it contravened, and then Mercedes Nico Rosberg got handed a 10-second penalty. And the way that this works, obviously because the race had already happened, they just basically like take a look at the chart of times, see where he ended up, and add 10 seconds to it. His full race time. Add 10 seconds to it, and then do the calculation of who won or who got where. Now, that moved him from 2nd to 3rd, behind Verstappen in the official. In the official results, in the official tally of scores, but because he actually went on the podium for 2nd place, and Verstappen went in for 3rd, and they received the like each other's trophy, they actually have to go.
He gets classified forever as 2nd. Or they have to go sign some paperwork now?
No. They have to go on like manually, like just they have to like exchange the trophies.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you're gonna say some old ass rule about something weird, like just because he stood on the podium that counts in the books or something stupid.
Oh no, I mean just no.
I was gonna say that would be too crazy.
No.
Yeah, that would be funny though.
But yeah,
like, oh, this one's a lot heavier than that one.
Yeah. Let me just have them from you here. You keep this one.
Nice. Something cool we can compare here, just because Rosberg took the fastest lap in the race, and Hamilton broke this all-time circuit record in qualifying.
Right.
And they're both driving the same car. Just to look at the
trouble with the stream, by the way.
Oh, is everything okay now?
I don't know.
don't know. Oh yeah, we're frozen. Are we still recording local?
Well, it says we're still streaming.
It says we're live. Actually, no, it's good.
My screen's frozen.
Yeah, you just have to reset. Sorry, guys, we had a bit of a technical blip, but it seems like we're back.
Stupid internet.
But
yeah. So Lewis broke the record at 1:29.243, and Rosberg took the fastest lap at 1:35.546. So it's kind of crazy, like 6.5 seconds. It's a big difference for quality and race pace.
Yeah,
You just can't keep up that quality speed.
it was a drag quality too.
Oh.
Right, so.
Well, the fastest lap was set on dry as well. He didn't do it when it was still raining.
True. Different conditions though, for sure. Like you have to like.
Yeah, but that's typical. That's typical that the 5 and 6 seconds between them.
Yeah.
Depending on the track length, especially. But yeah, that's typical. That's the fastest that any car went around the circuit during the race was 1:35, right?
That's amazing. What are they gonna do next year?
Next year, every record is gonna get smashed again.
Okay, remember when they were behind the safety car that Lewis almost like clipped his front wing against
he almost crashed into him.
He almost crashed into the safety car, which would have been very ironic and very comical to have seen. Like I would have actually like.
You'd have to change the name to the danger car.
Yeah, but Lewis was complaining that he was basically saying like this guy's not going fast enough, and we have to think that. Look at it in this way. These cars brakes the whole car itself just doesn't handle very well unless it's going fast enough to keep the temperature down on the track or to keep the temperature in the tires to keep the temperature in the brakes. All these parts have a very specific operating window, and they're geared to go very, very fast. So if these cars were being driven around too slowly, then that becomes a problem because that's unsafe. You start seeing like things like Lewis like losing it and like going almost hitting the safety car. We don't know what would have happened like further back. So now, if this is a problem today, and I'm pretty sure I brought this up at Betty's, what are they gonna do when the cars next year are all gonna be 5 seconds quicker? Like what's gonna be? It's
Mercedes, I guess, to rise to the challenge.
Yeah,
put a faster car out there.
Yeah, seriously, like they're gonna have to do something with the safety car to like make it like that much faster, so that it doesn't become an unsafety car, for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see for that.
A lot of people are getting really excited about 2017, though.
Yeah,
like, you can see that a ton of the teams like have already like switched gears to 2017 even.
I think it was on the Sky pre-show this weekend that they did a little like 3-4 minute thing about it again. So they're starting to hype it up. They showed you like a 3D graphic of the difference in width of the tires, the car, the floor itself, how high the diffuser is going to be.
I'm really excited about those big fat tires,
big
man.
Big fat wings, big fat tires.
Yeah.
Big fat diffuser, super tall diffuser. The floor is big and fat. The floor is almost as wide as the car is now.
Yeah, that's going to be
awesome.
That's great because it's going to bring a lot of downforce for not a lot of drag.
Yeah.
The bigger floors. So that's gonna stick the cars down to the road.
Yeah.
What Ted I think it was Ted and Anthony like did a bit on one of the pre-shows with these Sky Boys, where they basically like ended it saying like, listen, like, so are the 2017 cars gonna be faster? Yes, they are. Are they gonna be are they gonna like be like spectacular to drives and like reward like good driving? Yeah, probably. Yes. Are they actually gonna promote like better racing, more overtaking? Probably
not. Yeah.
So the one thing that this change of rules was supposed to bring is the one thing that is specifically not.
Maybe we'll see one spectacular year like that and then drop off the downforce, bring it back to more mechanical grip, slow them back down. They don't need to go 3 to 5 seconds faster.
No, not for great racing to happen.
No, yeah.
But
it's going to be cool, though. It's going to be like some stiff necks getting used to the extra G-force and steering through the corners quickly.
I'm actually looking forward to 2017. Remember, okay,
hell yeah.
Before this year started, remember how we were basically complaining? Well, not really complaining, but just banging on over and over the argument of how 2016 was going to be like a bit of like a like a bit of a placeholder year, like basically like just the year before the change of the regulations.
That's what we thought. Yeah, we were completely wrong.
Yeah, completely wrong. Yes, but it's starting to take in that direction already. Like teams like Sauber is like deep into their 2017 project by now. Like they're almost like bringing out absolutely no parts. I mean, not that they don't have. Not that their financial thing isn't the deterrent too for like developing the car, but you can tell that like they were just they're already focusing on 2017. Renault focusing on 2017 for sure. Force India hasn't even like done it much with their car.
Those very Italian guys said they're already working on their 2018 car.
Oh yeah,
to break this drought.
Yeah.
They're planning on about a 3-year window to break their drought, I guess, which they've already been trying to break for quite a while.
Yeah, Vettel, like in that picture of Vettel frowning or whatever, like I saw somebody on Reddit like basically saying like, oh, he's now starting to understand Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
They can go have a drink, Alonso and Vettel, like just be like, yo man, I feel you.
Trading war stories.
Yeah.
Much like Hamilton though, Vettel is getting paid. I pulled up this list here. Hamilton is number 11 in the world of all sports peoples at $46 million. And Vettel's right behind him at 41. And actually, not including sponsorships and endorsements and all that, Vettel's at 40 and Lewis is at 42. So not a big difference in their actual salaries. They're both way up there on the list, though. $41 million a year for Vettel. Wow, that's insane.
So
he can't be that sad.
No, for sure.
I'm sure he wants to drive an even faster car. Actually, Alonso is not far behind them at $36.5 million, 24th on the list.
That's some F1 people out there representing amongst all the other footballers and golfers.
Yeah, a lot of baseball, basketball, American football, and golfers. And I think that's it actually for the whole. Jimmy Johnson gets 22.2 in NASCAR. He's the next auto racer on the list. He's down at 82nd place. And I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, Rosberg's number 98 at 21 million. Huh. Sad face. He gets basically exactly half what Lewis makes.
Without his sponsorship and whatever. Before.
Pre-sponsorship.
Pre-sponsorship.
Yeah. That's his salary. Yeah, 20 million salary.
The stream's still all messed up.
Oh, well.
We're still recording. Like, it's still going there, but the live...
We apologize to our live viewers. We will get to the bottom of this.
Sorry, guys.
It's something to do with Mike's internet connection.
We had a storm here maybe about a week ago. I think just after the podcast.
Life hasn't been the same.
It's just not been the same.
Well, sorry, live viewers. Hopefully you can still hang in there and still are getting this.
Actually, one of my friends just texted me that was looking at it and said, your stream keeps cutting out.
Damn it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, what can we do?
Yeah.
The British Grand Prix always like brings up like a lot of the history and like especially the coverage that we watch usually is the Sky coverage, so they're very proud Brits, and they managed to squeeze in a reminder every time during the British Grand Prix preview that the 1950 British Grand Prix was the first World Championship race in the first Formula One World Championship. It's like it's where F1 sort of started, and it was like they have like a few other like little factoids, like it's the first and only motor racing event that was attended by a reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth's dad, right? Her dad, King George, King George, whatever. He showed up with a little Queen Elizabeth.
Oh my God!
Yeah, or Princess Elizabeth back in those days. They say all kinds of things like that, but it's true. I mean, it's a track that, because of the history, and because it's British racing fans have always been consistently some of the most like strongest supporter of the sport worldwide. You can't help but wonder, like a bit more about this track's history and this, and in particular, actually. So I went and I started reading more about the inaugural Formula One World Drivers' Championship in 1950, and it was like, man, it was a cool world. There's a couple things that I didn't know. So even though the British Grand Prix was the first race that counted in the championship, it wasn't the first race of the year. There were non-championship Formula One races. There were still like Grand Prix that the teams went to that just did not count for the points because. So let's say there was a British Grand Prix, and that was like the great prize, but it wasn't the only race that happened in Britain. They had a couple other races in
Brands Hatch. That was later, I guess.
No, in Goodwood, for example, they had a race.
Donington Park is another British circuit.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was around back then.
But no,
they raced the Grand Prix on there.
No Donington. But anyway, yeah. So they'd have like several or like a few races in Britain, but only one British Grand Prix. They had a few races in Italy, but they went by different names. One of them was in 1950 the Gran Premio di Bari. Mm-hmm. That neatly ties up to the next. So we're gonna talk about next.
Talk about this. Yeah, that was a non-championship race.
A non-championship race that still exists, and the teams showed up.
Mediterranean Grand Prix.
And it was cool, man. I think that as an idea, non-championship races for F1 are things that should make it back. Like
some of the last week at the drivers' press conference, it was brought up. One of the reporters there, one of the journalists, asked about doing it at the Olympics.
What a fantastic idea would that be?
Apparently, Ecclestone has been talking about that idea since the late '80s. Mm-hmm. Every 4 years, having an Olympic non-championship race, and then So when I think it was maybe Sainz at the press conference, I was like, I don't know, what's the point of that? Too many races. Yeah, too many races.
No, I think Kvyat had it bang on. I think that if because what Kvyat basically said that if they gave him all the same car, exact same car, like same, and just like, then you're fighting. Like, then you're really, I guess the idea is like then you'd really see like who's who.
Yeah.
And do it like once every 4 years, not for points. So, but just for glory,
like an all-stars game type of thing.
Yeah.
You take the best guys around and put them each on a team.
Yeah, and just happen to host it at whatever city's doing the Olympics, since they're already going to have all the infrastructure already there. Why not?
I'm sure electronically they could force a limit on the horsepower of all these cars.
Mm-hmm.
That the engine peaks out at a certain horsepower, and that's it.
Yeah,
you could probably do that. Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know. That'd be really cool.
But yeah, non-championship races, I think that I don't know, like, but maybe they made more sense back then when the championship itself was only 6 races long, so they had a lot of time to to fill in their calendar, these F1 teams, which is not the case anymore. But you have some news from Bari as well.
I just want to say one more thing about Silverstone too, is that it's kind of the coolest thing to me is that that you can actually tell from the aerial shots that Silverstone was in Royal Air Force Base until 1945. On the Wikipedia page, there's a really cool picture that the ring road, I don't know what you call it, a ring road that follows the outline of the 3 runways there, is more or less the basic outline of the circuit when you look at these old pictures from the 40s.
Yeah, it was basically the service road. That's what the service road for the airport. And what a great thing. I mean, you definitely gotta hand it to the Brits and other Europeans. Well, I think it was like mostly the Brits that after the war, once everything like calmed down and whatever, and like they looked at these facilities and said like, shit, what are we gonna do with this big airfield that we have now in the middle of nowhere? Let's race cars around it. Why not? Like over here in Canada, most of the facilities that were built for World War II were basically like turned to parks or like destroyed, dismantled after.
Right.
Like the airfields, like were like just they dug them up and put a park in there instead.
Yeah, they never even paved over the runways. They're still there. Like it has like the character of being an airport.
Yeah, I know. Like that. Yeah, why didn't we think of it? Well, why didn't they just start racing cars around here? I think they missed an opportunity here.
It's, when you see some really old footage of the circuit too, like the guys in those like super open, the 50s cigar looking shaped cars, they're going around with like long grass surrounding the edges. Like there's no runoff at all. It's just the field.
Yeah,
it's a field of wheat or grass around there. Like it's cool that way. It's really cool. Except for war. War sucks.
Yeah, no, we're not.
War is not good. But yeah, there's some news from a group called the Monte Calvo Group.
Okay.
This is coming off of what we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that somehow some people that are in charge of running the Monza circuit were able to change Italian business law to federally make it illegal to hold a Grand Prix in Italy anywhere other than at Monza.
Yeah.
It's illegal. It's against the law. But as of these other races, the European Grand Prix, when there were 2 in Germany, or they just kind of changed the name. So they're proposing a Mediterranean Grand Prix to be held in 2020 and beyond. They've raised €200 million already to back this, and apparently they talked to Bernie in I forget, a couple of races ago. Anyways, he's all for it. Can you pull up the picture actually of the circuit? They're sort of seems like keeping tight-lipped about it for now. Here. It's near the bottom. Yeah. They're sort of keeping tight-lipped about it. So we have this picture. This is all you can find. It looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint with someone's left hand that shows the outline of the proposed circuit, but there's no info on the length it'll be or where exactly. But some of the cool features. Sorry.
Bari's not a big place, so.
Yeah, it's a small city. I looked up. They have 320,000 people or so population. But I think what you're seeing on that gray blob there at the bottom is that the front straight and where the pits is will run along the seafront. And they want to build a paddock club and visitor center and all of the facilities floating on the water.
Wicked.
That's their idea.
That sounds amazing.
That's where that gray blob I think is going to be the east side of the circuit, I guess.
Like with all the I guess like the paddock buildings or whatever.
The paddock club
to be actually floating in the water. That's amazing.
Having it floating in the marina.
I kind of have I think I had like cool. A dream about that. That's like. Come on, how cool would that look? That would look amazing if they just had like the facilities just like, floating away in the Mediterranean. While come on, that would make for great TV. And actually, like just seeing it in person, that would be fucking cool.
Yeah, it definitely is. And yeah, Bernie's all for it. And as you mentioned, Bari held Grand Prix.
Yeah, so it's not like they don't have a claim for it, for sure. Yeah.
Right, they were held between 47 and 56. It was a 6-kilometer circuit in the downtown. This is going to be a totally different layout, though. I'm sure a lot of the streets that were run on back then don't exist anymore. Yeah. Or it was run down by the port area or something. That it's probably all fancy condos now.
Maybe too narrow or whatever.
Yeah, some of that too, for sure. Apparently, it was run from 47 to 56, and in 1956, the last running, they decided to run it backwards. Just we're gonna line the cars up the other way this year. And you all go counterclockwise.
Yeah. Well, you guys aren't coming back here anymore, so let's spice it up before we let it go. Talking about other things coming back from the past and things like peripherally happening around the world of Formula One. It's something that I read on Joe Sayward's blog, his notebook from the previous race from Austria, where he was talking about among a few things, he started seeing some weird activity coming out from the GP2 group. Now, the GP2 is part of the Formula One group, right? It's controlled, it's owned by CVC. It's CVC. Through the many companies that Bernie has set up over the years, Delta Topco, Alpha Topco, whatever, they own the Formula One group, but and FOM. But on top of that, they also have GP2. I think it's called GP2 Companies Limited. Whatever it's called. The managing company that manages GP2. They also own GP3 and the Porsche Super Cup. That's all owned by FOM or by the Bernie spectrum of companies. But he noticed that there was some interesting activity coming out from GP2, in the sense that GP2 owns the trademark for the names GP2, GP3, and GP1. right? Okay, yeah. Now this is not anything new. They've owned that for a long time now. But what's interesting now is that they've opened up a company, and just by itself, like I forget what the name of the company is here. Let me look it up. It is a sports technical services, right? So this company was opened, and sports technical services. You don't know much of what they might be doing, but what's interesting is the trademarks that they're applying for. This company is now coming out and like submitting legal paperwork, okay, they're applying for regulatory services to motor racing events, including the provision and appointment of technical delegates to interpret and enforce rules for sporting events, scrutineering services, advising, managing event access, event personnel, event facilities, event timetables, provision of information, and appointing officials, stewards, clerks, secretaries, adjudicators, scrutineers, and medical officers. This is all basically what the FIA does for Formula One. So it's interesting because it hints at a possible move, or at least like it gives like Bernie more of a claim if he like. This is like it's not quite putting your finger on the trigger, but more like loading the gun with bullets. You're like right, like it's putting yourself in a position where now these technical sports technical services would work probably in conjunction with GP2 to then actually like propose a breakaway series called GP1. Now, this obviously would create way more problems that it would solve, but if you're like a savvy entrepreneur looking to like promote your name and like perhaps like your Formula E campaign is not going that well, or it's not attracting the numbers, or even like some current F1 teams could be lured away. Like if this actually materializes, it isn't unthinkable that they could be lured away with better distribution. So like if they were promised, if this series basically promised equal distribution of money for all the teams under whatever rules, you can see some teams like saying, you know what, all right, if I'm gonna make more, like it might not start as being more popular than Formula One, but if I'm gonna make more money by participating in it than I would in Formula One, what's the point? And then and it's run by like the same people that run Formula One, that they'll probably like the infrastructure is already there. They have the deal, like they have the capacity to make deals with event promoters. It could be the answer like to like what Bernie's thinking of, like having 30 races a year, but maybe not all of them are going to be Formula One races. We're talking about GP1 races, which honestly would just be a big fuck off to the FIA if they actually did that, because the whole sticking point in like the negotiations with the FIA about a breakaway series, right? Like this has come up before in the past, where teams have been like fed up with the FIA, fed up with like the way the rules are done, and like they've threatened like, we're gonna leave Formula One and we're gonna start our own show, and they basically don't, because the FIA owns the name Formula One. So if they wanted to like leave and like create their own thing, they just couldn't call it Formula One.
Right.
And Formula One has like embedded, the name has such a history that's really like why you race in Formula One, and like why like it is at the top is it's built on all these implications of what F1 is. But it's starting to look like, at least in somebody's mind, in some businessman's mind, that it could make sense to actually like have a breakaway different, like alternative to Formula One, which could be, I mean, I honestly like wouldn't want to like I wouldn't want to have to make that choice, to watch either do I get into F1 or do I get into GP1? Like, what's the deal? Come on, like I wouldn't want to have to make that choice. And I still think that like for all its faults, like the sport can be fixed. Like
I think that's too much though. Like
Yeah.
nobody's gonna watch both. There's too much racing. There's no chance for it to survive. You can look at Formula 2 for an example of that.
well, they've been trying to like start that.
They're making a
Restart it.
third attempt. Yeah, it ran from like the 1940 something
Yeah.
up until I don't know sometime in the 80s, and then they brought it back in the early 2000s. It failed 3 years ago, only 4 years, 2012, and now they announced this year they're gonna try to bring it back again.
Yeah,
But
they won Formula
It's-
2,
Can we try just resetting the stream?
just like clocking out and clocking back in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, we'll
Give
be
us one
Sorry,
second.
sorry about
Sorry
that.
for the audio listeners, but
yeah.
we'll be right back. Yeah, so the Formula 2, I think would and did get confused with GP2, which is huge, and it just can't compete. GP2 is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a name now. It's prestigious. They open for Formula 1 a lot
Yeah.
on the same weekends. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's interesting, but I personally don't see it working.
No, I don't think it's gonna work, but it's like it'll give Bernie some sort of leverage in some negotiations. Like maybe like I said, like he just wants to have like if it's known that he has the option that he can say like, listen, like I may just make this happen to spite you.
Hey, there's bullets in this gun.
Yeah. What do you think this is? Again, looking forward to the next. Like we know that the 2020 Concord Agreement is already in negotiations. So this could just be like there might be something hard that Bernie's going to be lobbying for, probably having to do with money distribution and having more money because that's it.
Yeah.
But this could be like one of the things that he's like, you don't believe me? Look, I have all the paperwork ready to start GP1. Now what?
One of my favorite ideas I've maybe ever seen here, which actually segues very well off of this, a guy named Blackjack Black on Reddit posted this a few days ago. The B's are 8s in his username. If you want to find this thing, but something that could add some novelty to this and maybe not have 30 races, but have 30 circuits, right? And also to fix some of this fees problem. Like Bernie likes to get a lot of money, and a lot of circuits are having trouble. Like even Silverstone is having trouble bringing that money together and bringing it up to Bernie's bank. But the only real races every year on his list here that have full proper attendance and heavy interest are Melbourne, Monaco, Montreal, Silverstone, Interlagos in Brazil, Singapore, Suzuka, Spa, Abu Dhabi, and Monza. And we've actually even heard Spa having a little bit of money troubles as well. That it was threatening to get off the calendar. And this idea has been used before, which is rotating races. Germany is going back to that. Well, if the Nürburgring can afford, but that might fall apart.
That was the model of the German Grand Prix. Like it flip flopped in between.
Oh, really?
Two different tracks. Yeah.
Hockenheim and the Nürburgring
because
traded
because
attendance.
They basically said like just having a race here year in year is not sustainable for us. So we need to switch it up. We need to have like somebody else take the cost for half the years.
Right. That seems like a smart idea. Like if you have like these ones that are 100% sure they're either going to sell out or be very popular, and then other ones that are actually great tracks but not necessarily have the attendance, like if you do it every other year. That seems to make sense to me.
It's like putting 2 and 3 weeks between races. You build up the hype and everyone gets more anticipatory and you know what I mean. So listen to this this list of races that he wrote here that could rotate. There's no reason why not. Austria, the Hungaroring, Germany, which they already do, the Nürburgring and Hockenheim, Baku, Sochi, Shanghai, India, Malaysia, Korea, Mexico, Austin, the Circuit of the Americas, Barcelona, Valencia, Bahrain, and Istanbul.
Holy moly.
Every single one of those were badass races that had to be stopped or might have to be stopped. Some of them still run because of attendance and money problems. Which I really like this idea. Why not?
Yeah, just get together and
see who wants to do the evens, who wants to do the odds.
Yeah.
And then throw them. It doesn't matter if it's the same time of the year or anything. You just throw them back and forth, or even every third year. But that they have a contract, and you could say oh man, that race in India was awesome. I can't wait 2 more years till they go back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that type of thing that you can hype up races for years by
I'm
rotating.
already hyped.
The hypometer just went up.
Yeah, I don't see why this isn't explored more by Bernie. He gets paid more. In the end, he'll get more money. And there's no problems. More people show up. It looks better on TV.
Well, the whole like
More
sort of
people wanna-
infrastructure of Formula One is just kind of silly in general. Right? There's some bonkers shit that goes on in there.
We have some strong words to say about that. Yeah.
Anyways, that's a list of 16 circuits that could and should be rotated, bringing back some of the other ones. Maybe not Valencia, but all the other ones.
or Korea. Really, let's be honest.
Unless I thought Korea was really cool, man.
Unless they're planning on like moving it closer to Seoul. Really, I mean, let's be honest.
More people will go if it's every second or third year. Right?
True.
That's the whole point. A lot of these circuits, like the Indian circuit too, is built like in the middle of nowhere between two big cities. And that's part of the problem with the German races. They're kind of far away from the cities. Silverstone, they're having a bit of money problems. They painted half the curbs black this weekend because of money problems. If you didn't know that, that's what the black and white curbs were about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Seoul is pretty close to North Korea. You start getting those guys in.
Yeah.
Tear down these borders. Okay.
Through sport, we'll get it there.
Sure, a lot of those guys would love to come see a race.
Yeah. Or just freedom in general.
I think, Kim is a big sports fan. Really likes basketball anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Remember he was hanging out with that crazy basketball guy with purple hair and stuff?
What's his name?
I don't know. Who cares?
Who cares?
Actually, one thing, I know that we already talked about Nico's 10-second penalty or whatever, but I was watching the post-race show on Sky, and Johnny Herbert is again bringing up our idea of
I saw that.
He was trying to push that to Toto Wolff. He's like, what about a Joker? What about you get one? Or I think it was to Christian Horner. He was like, what about getting into use like a Joker one time per race that they can get like team instructions and it's fine.
These guys, man, they're just biting our style.
Yeah.
They're listening to the podcast and they're stealing our ideas.
Johnny, you know.
Next thing you know, he's just drinking it down for us.
Yeah. Or hey, actually,
you will know if he's doing backflips on TV and stuff.
Actually,
jumping around like a maniac.
You know what? I do not want to discourage this behavior.
Yeah.
You know what? Keep
give us credit.
But yeah, give us a shout out. Oh, come on the show. Even better. Yeah.
Call us up, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Love to talk to you.
Share it down for us.
Oh yeah. One day.
Virtual cheers.
But another thing that I noticed, actually specifically, I was watching qualifying, and sometimes I just put kind of qualifying sort of in the background, like pay attention for like the 10-minute or whatever, 18 minutes of the round, and then in between, just like go and do my thing. But I was for some reason I was just in the couch. I was watching very intently this year, and I noticed that when they zoomed into the cars, these guys, or at least for sure Renault, for sure McLaren, and who knows how many other teams out there, are freaking using what's possibly actually it's probably the second worst screw and most frustrating. If you've ever done any kind of construction or tried to build something, it's particularly, I'd say this is probably like a Canadian thing, but and you're using Phillips screws, they never stick.
The cross.
Yeah, the cross ones, they never freaking stick. They never
click on that picture full screen.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, you try to use a power screwdriver, and it's always it never catches on, except as soon as you switch to a Robertson screw, it's beauty. Come on. How I guarantee you, if these teams, if Renault and McLaren started using Robertson screws instead of their Phillips head, they'd increase their productivity by man, we're talking about saving hours of work by the end of a Grand Prix. I'm not joking, man. You're an electrician by trade. You work with construction. You were saying that in your construction site, you got in trouble if you ordered Phillips.
Yeah. Not actually, but yeah, people jive you. Yeah, you don't want to open some old ass box with Phillips screws in it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
American
is it
stuff
that much better? Like,
yeah, man.
When you say it's going to save them so much time,
Yeah.
In what regard would it save it?
It's just they're quicker to handle. They're like you can screw faster because the screwdriver isn't like popping off
they don't
all the time.
strip as easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
More durable in that sense.
Yeah, and what you were saying about being able to like, so you basically like pop it on to like the head of the screwdriver, and like the screw like just stays there. So maneuverability, like is like, honestly like I worked for a bit with a heating company, and one of the one of the most senior mechanics, he's a guy with like 40 years of experience or whatever, and like he had worked in like many parts of the world. And he told me, like, he's like, yeah, like when I first came to Canada and found out about these Robertson screws, I was like, where have these been my entire life? they are that much better, man. And in fact, like they had a good chance of being like the industry standard around the world if it wasn't for the fact that Henry Ford also wanted to buy the patent for it. But otherwise, like these, like you'd probably be seeing a lot, like all over the world, because as soon as you try them, as soon as you like. If you do any work building stuff and you're in Canada, you know what I'm talking about. These screws are way better. They save you time, man. And if you think about it, like on like in the long like periods of time, like over the stretch of a year, even if it's 10 seconds here that are saving you, like over the stretch of a year, we're talking about like hours, days even of manpower time that you could have spent doing something else.
Yeah, right. Johnny, you can tell him about that one. Spread that one around.
Yeah, Johnny, come on.
Yeah, I swear to God, if you fucking mention something about these screws, we know for a fact he's listening.
So I don't know. Basically, I think pretty much the final thing I got here is Pirelli's laid out their whole testing schedule for next year's tires. Can you pull it up? I highlighted the link here at the bottom here. It's at the bottom of the page. This is from the F1 site. But it's kind of interesting how they're doing it. They chose Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. Right at the very bottom. You see, yeah, there it is. They chose Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes to be the teams that do all the testing.
Now, let's not forget that the invitation to participate in these tests was sort of open to all the teams, but clearly only the ones with enough money. Yeah, we're gonna be able to like send people out there. Yeah.
So these three were chosen. So there's gonna be 10 sessions of a total 24 days, and it's kind of interesting. They're gonna do the first one at Fiorano in August 1st and 2nd.
A track that is owned by Ferrari.
Right, and Ferrari will be the only team testing there. I think the only test with all the cars together is going to be at the end of the year, the week after Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
because they're already going to be there.
Yeah, and they're calling that the final validation test. So they're going to say like, all right, these are the tires. Everything's cool. We're going to use these. But at Fiorano, they're going to test for the first 2 days on the wet tires and using sprinklers. And I think the days are almost split up evenly between the three teams. But one thing I'm not clear on is who has to let Pastor Maldonado drive their car. That hasn't been specified.
They draw straws.
I don't think old Pastor will actually be there driving any of their cars. They'll bring their own drivers. But like I think
I think he might be. He's doing because all this data has to be made not public but available to all the teams. So it's public as far as you live in the F1 world, and the team they have to share between themselves. They're going to be using 2015 cars, somehow modify the transmission and drivetrain to hold these fat tires, and I don't know. The data shouldn't be too relevant, I guess, using the old cars and using Maldonado.
Only for like the team statisticians, but like you're not gonna be able to like gain much of a knowledge of like how to use him like any better than anybody else.
Doing that. I think we looked at
or
this
at least
before.
That's the aim.
I think though that these teams don't get to bring their own drivers. I think they're lending out these cars to Pirelli, and because Maldonado works for Pirelli.
Remember last year when they did the same thing, like at the end of the year, like Ferrari stayed on whatever, and whatever whoever stayed back. I think it was Button might have stayed back. They were F1 drivers, but they also like they got the choice also to I think like Van Dorn made his appearance there, right? Like he stayed for the tire test. So it's like
this is a whole different thing, though. Do you think they're doing some extracurricular testing as well, their own testing with Maldonado? He works for Pirelli, separately from this testing.
Yeah.
Maybe you think these are more like an exhibition? They're just doing this for the point of showing off that they're testing the tires.
No, it's because scroll up. So Pirelli have like that Pirelli car, like go all the way up. Yeah, this unmarked car that is sort of like an F1 car. I think it was built by Lotus back in the day, but it was built by an F1 team anyway.
Yeah.
And so they have this car, or like maybe like some like it, that they can sort of do their own tests and like run their own laps. This is what Jaime Alguersuari was driving. I remember like seeing a feature on Sky with him like driving this black car. So it goes, and they can do some testing with it, but obviously they're not gonna know like really how it's gonna impact like the F1 cars without like testing it in a proper F1 car. But yeah, like in the off time, yeah, they're running this thing around a track somewhere that they own. The
Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes that they're bringing to the test, I assume they're going to have to jack up the aerodynamics as well, because you need to simulate the weight of the air pushing on these tires, right? The heat levels and all that, the grip.
They'll probably like bring like their Monaco spec wings, even if it's Abu Dhabi, just to put in that much.
Maybe even bigger. Yeah. Maybe even fatter wings. Who knows? You need to have that same weight on the tires, right?
Yeah.
For the test
to be
fully
like
relevant.
Freaking
the energy putting into
wasn't Massa like driving with that like funny like extra wings on either side?
Oh yeah.
To like simulate that downforce, yeah.
That's right. It's crazy. They're going all out. They're using 5 or 6 different circuits here: Fiorano, Mugello, Barcelona, Paul Ricard, and Abu Dhabi to do this testing. They're staying in Abu Dhabi, I think, for 4 weeks, from October 14th to November 29th. 6 weeks.
Shit.
6 weeks of testing. 3 3-day and 1 2-day session. Crazy. Yeah, it's big. It's big.
Well,
I can't wait to see them on track, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Whatever happened or came up of the Halo? Weren't they testing that?
Let's talk about that. We were supposed to last week, and we just didn't. It's at the bottom here if you go to the second page. So it's kind of interesting because Vettel got to try it this time. They only did the 1 lap because it affects the car somehow.
Yeah.
The cooling and stuff like that. This is a photograph comparing the first Halo and the second Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the second one on top is the front piece is maybe slightly narrower and definitely a lot taller. Yeah. And the angle is a lot sharper towards the back.
Yeah,
you see the first one is flat on top and this one angles back. But Vettel's quote was that he thinks it needs a lot more work and that it's very on top of you. That was his quote. That he's like, it's like not that he said, also not that you look at the sky too often, but that you can't see it. It's that I guess he feels like claustrophobic or something. Like
I could see that.
It's over your head type of thing. Like he said, the front view is not really obstructed, and you see they have those like pitot tubes and antennas, and you got 3 or 4 things sticking up in your face, anyways. On all the cars, and S duct is in your face.
You know what? It just looks so cumbersome.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it just doesn't look right.
It looks like a fucking afterthought. It looks like it was like all right, we know the real like solution to this would be like a cockpit or some sort of like aero screen, but I guess this will do for now.
So you know they're doing a lot of testing behind the scenes and on paper and in computer simulations and things like that, and that the Red Bull's windscreen they just stopped development because it didn't pass like a physical test where they launch a tire at these screens at 250 kilometers an hour.
That's the test.
That's the test.
Yeah.
And so these passed it?
These passed. Well, underneath, it's not just carbon fiber. That's going to be like a 30 pounds, I think. So like 15 kilos or maybe
like
more of titanium bar. At first they were talking about steel, but it was too heavy. So they're going to go to a titanium bar in there.
Coated with carbon fiber.
With carbon fiber. So, like we were saying last week, they haven't said anything about putting branding on it or making it aerodynamic for your team.
Ferrari had a couple of Ray-Ban stickers on it.
They got a Claro one there too.
that wasn't this first spec, but in this second one, like they had a couple of Ray-Ban stickers.
Actually, something I mentioned last week, and then I saw someone mocked it up on Reddit, was this Ferrari like showing the whole car with the halo black like it is now, and showing the halo vehicle color, and it actually looks a lot better. It kind of blends in, like having it painted red.
Oh,
makes a big difference. Like you
Right.
know, you're seeing like a yellow one, a blue one, all the different cars.
Okay.
That
makes a little more sense.
Might help out the appeal.
Yeah.
But so in the same article that Vettel was talking about driving with it, and Christian Horner said this is really inelegant, and that he will not vote for it. That's what he's like. I don't know. It needs a lot more testing. He's probably just bitter that his windscreen didn't get picked up instead.
And they wasted so much so many hours of development just like preparing for that. It never happened.
Yeah, they probably did all kinds of revamps of how the car would look and testing with this thing.
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot taller than the first version, but
I do have like one thing to say. Yeah, it's stupid. It's ugly. Nobody likes it. I mean, nobody can tell you that like they like the way it looks. Come on, it looks ridiculous. It looks stupid. But I think that crucially, like I agree with Martin Brundle when he says that it's just gonna generate like more problems than it's gonna solve. And I mean, obviously,
it
like
already has, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, Jesus. And one thing that it's like one of those things that the law of unintended consequences, right? Like by doing this, they're like aiming to protect against some known danger. But in doing so, they might be actually generating an unknown danger.
Right.
And is it then gonna be worth it to actually like go down this route if it's actually good? Like we don't know what's gonna happen. Like if it's actually gonna like generate an accident, or like maybe like one of these parts is gonna break it like straight into a driver's helmet and kill him. We don't know that's gonna happen. But just looking at it, you kind of get the feeling that like yes, a solution like this actually has. Like there's a lot of things that could go wrong with it. Like just by looking at it, and I agree.
The biggest example is Alonso's crazy crash from Australia this year. His car flipped over in the air and landed upside down.
Yeah.
That he probably wouldn't have been able to squeeze out with that thing on there. You can't the height in the front, like you can't fit your helmet through there. So you wouldn't if it's completely covered on the top, you can't fit through that hole. Probably a person could without a helmet on, but it makes your head twice as big. It doesn't fit through that space.
or if it gets knocked. Right.
Yeah, if it got bent, like
bent at all, then if you can't get out, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about having some sort of a release or like an explosive release or something. The car's
wow, man.
Almost like an ejector for it. Like
they're really working hard.
That's a stupid idea.
Trying to justify.
Yeah,
like you put mount rockets in it so it like takes off and gets out of the way when.
I think they've. The intent is nice, right? Yeah. Like they're like, we want this to help
to get
people.
hit in the head and die.
But the fact that they have to do so many things to justify its existence on this planet means that like maybe it's not such a great idea. You know what I mean? And who would have been saved by this? I think it's a question we should be asking.
Yeah, it's not something I wanted to really mention this week, but at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal. It's the booing from this weekend, but. This deserves some boos. Like, let's go back to England and Austria. Let's combine those crowds and get them
to boo this down to oblivion.
Let's get this Halo on the podium and see what happens next weekend.
Right, because there was like some sort of like reverse booing where Hamilton got booed in Austria.
Yeah, Austria.
Is that a backwards boo?
Yeah.
Oops.
But I mean, you know what's so funny? I think Lewis Hamilton could have like handled that with a little more tact. Like if you actually wanted to sort of mend a somewhat weird relationship with Nico Rosberg.
In Austria?
No, in Great Britain.
Where, he told the crowd to stop booing. He said, "Come on, guys, we're better than that. This is Great Britain.
Okay, never mind.
You shouldn't be booing him.
He gets
did
full
a great
points
job."
then.
He did say that. He did say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Rosberg didn't say anything like that. He was probably like,
yeah.
He was laughing. He's laughing.
Wow, what a guy. Never mind. I take that completely back. I have nothing left to say.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, neither do we. So end the show, Mike.
We'll be back next week. The Hungary preview for sure.
Yeah.
Lots more to talk about.
And some big news coming this week from our camp too.
Please pay attention to our Twitter. Tomorrow.
Yep.
Thanks again a lot. Wow, I can't even talk anymore. I need to get some food. But thanks for sticking around, guys. I know this stream was having some problems, but appreciate you sticking around.
Silly internet.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and thanks to all the new followers that we got. We notice you. We know that you're there.
Subscribe.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thanks. Ladies.
It's ladies. Ladies.